What's happening, baseball fans? Thanks for coming over to the DFS 5-pack. Appreciate y'all clicking that thumbs up button as we break down the MLB DFS Draftkings slate for you guys today with 5 of our favorite plays, 1 pitcher and 4 hitters like standard. Before we get into that, guys, something we do want to bring up is just how much action there is to catch over at Overlay right now. We will break down NBA and MLB in a little bit. We ran through our first thoughts on football. We'll definitely hit that up again before the actual season starts. And for y'all golf fans, I mean, that's coming live in a couple of days, so get in where you fit in, as our boy Too Short would say.
Yeah, man, that football show yesterday got me hyped. I'm a day late and $1 short on Overlay still. Yesterday was 1 pick out of the money, but I feel like I'm getting close to that to the Slump Buster challenge. But either way, I'm loving it because the thing I love most about it is it's so stressless. Like, you set your lineup and you're straight for the day.
That's really nice. I set 2 totally different lineups in my mind yesterday on Overlay, and they finished with the exact same record and number of points, which is almost impossible to do because it was definitely different picks too. You know what I mean? Because I had about 4 or 5 I felt good about, like Brooke Lopez, for example, and the rest of them are really close. So it was a weird coincidence to play the same thing and then finish in the money, but because a lot of us split with the tie-breaking points, didn't quite get the full payback on it. So it was just a wild, close game yesterday.
Yeah, better than me, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot better on Overlay in the NBA playoffs than I had been doing playing baseball.
Cool.
All right. So speaking of baseball, we're here to talk DK now. Day passes are up. Appreciate all you guys who buy the day passes on a daily basis. You get both sports for the day. The NFL package is still up on sale for a couple more days here. It's 20% off. All that's done through the website. The link is below. Click the thumbs up button to subscribe if you're new. Let's talk about the one pitcher that we definitely agreed on today as we saw the SP2 just a little bit differently on this one, and that is Mr. Valdez of the Houston Astros. So the first 3 bullet points are the biggest reason, White. The Rangers stink, the Rangers stink, the Rangers stink. But he's also been really good this year. Again, it's not a huge sample size because it's only a month, but he's been excellent. And something that you and I don't play for a lot on DK is getting that 4 points with the dub. But I will throw it in there. He's in a great spot for the dub today.
He is in a great spot for the win. I mean, about as good of a spot as you could ask for. Valdez has just been awesome this year. He's got like 20+ in every start but his first one. When I saw he was pitching, I expected him to be like 10K in this spot. He's getting a lot of love today, and for good reason. In cash games, I'm locking him in right away. In tournaments, I'm no problem just locking him in right away and getting different elsewhere. He seems just too obvious. It's almost too good to be true, but doesn't mean he's not going to be great here.
Yeah, this guy I feel like you can just put in your lineup. You know, I feel very comfortable with the floor. He's maybe not the highest ceiling pitcher in the world, but that's okay because this slate is not riddled with high ceiling Shane Bieber type of plays.
Yep.
All right, next up, Coors Fields in play tonight. It's not a quote-unquote like crush spot like Chichi Gonzalez, you know, facing Matt Harvey or something like that, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some focus on a little bit of the offense right there, specifically a couple of Giants, and most specifically, at least for my money, is going to be Brandon Belt, who is very affordable today at only $4,200. He's having a superb season. I know you've always been a Belt guy too, and again, small sample size, but this is about as well as he's played. Batting .313 this year, OPS just under 1,000. Got a little pop in that bat with 5 home runs. Gray was a little better last time out because he got a little bit of his fastball velocity back, but obviously we're not scared to pull a little Giants against him. It is Coors Field, and Belt has always been really good against John Gray. Matches up in profiles with him well. 10-24 with 6 extra base hits to only 4 Ks. I'm sure you're more than happy to. I know you're a big Brandon Belt fan.
I am, and I like Sam Fran slightly more than you do today. Gray's on your good side because he pitched decent last time out, but doesn't mean he's going to pitch decent year. I had a rough year before that. I think San Fran is firmly in play here as a full stack, as a mini stack, as one-offs. The guy you definitely want, though, is Belt. I mean, especially in cash games, there's always a lot of first base option because there's always a lot of every position, especially on a slate like this. But Belt stands out at this price point. Another guy, you look at this slate, you expect him to be like close to 5K. He's too cheap at 4,200.
Yeah, it almost seems like a misprint. I think he's like going under the radar a little bit as far as how well he's been this season, right? He's definitely a guy who's had some ups and downs in his career. Never quite reached the potential they hoped for when he was a young man, but he's had some moments that showed you he can be a pretty quality MLB hitter when he's playing well, which he has been this season. Again, a 990 OPS is nothing to shake a stick at. And I know it's not a full season or anything like that, but at 4,200, this one makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
All right, next up, another one of your favorite players who is having an excellent bounce back season is going to be Robinson Cano. And I think, like Belt, how well he's playing this year is flying a little bit under the radar.
It is. Another guy, he kind of fits with Belt in the sense that we like the Mets today. We don't think you need to sell your soul on the Mets. You can certainly stack them. You can mini stack them. You can use one-offs. Cano, another guy that stands out at this price point. He's very he's more up and down than the usual cog in the machine. But how he's playing this year, right now, in this matchup, I like him a lot here. Any hitter can always get you zero on any given day. But he's in a good spot, in a good ballpark, on the road, hitting in the middle of a good lineup that, faces a pitcher that can definitely give up power to lefties. So at 4,400, I like Cano a lot, regardless of what you want to do with the whole Mets.
Exactly. And again, my favorite stat in baseball is OPS, on base plus slugging. I think it just does a great job of showing what kind of value you provide to an offense. And I was just raving about Belt's 990 on the season. Robinson Cano's got a 1058 right now. That's really good. He's having an excellent season.
Yes, sir.
And while he kind of looked washed up last year, he doesn't look like that this year.
No, not at all.
All right, next up. All right, so we brought him up yesterday. We're going to go right back to the well right here. Boy from my Brewers, Ben Gaml. Big help last night to me. I'm really fretting over that 5 points he lost when he was caught stealing. I wish he could have gotten that extra 5 points. Would have been a big help. You know how those – I know you know how those upper tier GPPs go when you're like 50th out of, 1,000 or whatever it might have been. 5 points gets you up to like 20th, which is such a big difference. Either way, the point I wanted to bring up about that is he's got multiple ways to give you points. He's got a little pop in his bat, not a major home run hitter, but if he played a full season as a starter every day, he'd be about a 15 to 20 home run guy. He does a little bit of running, not a lot, but it's another way to get points. But the key thing here is he's 2,600. Fulmer has just been a shell of himself this year. And you came up with the theory that you think he could move to leadoff tonight. And I have zero arguments with that. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, listen, we've talked about how Urias has struggled leading off for them the past few games. Ideally, ideally he'd be their leadoff hitter. He doesn't look great right now. And Gaml just continues to hit whenever he's in the lineup. Facing Fulmer, who has not been good, but then knowing that Daniel Norris, a lefty, is coming in, it makes sense to put Gaml towards the top of the lineup here. So you guarantee at least one at bat against Fulmer, hopefully two, because that's where he's going to do most of his damage. He's solid, and I mentioned to you why fix what's not broken. You wanted to bring him up on the public video. I wrote him up as a hard recommend yesterday. No reason not to go right back here.
Yeah, because he's still really, really cheap. And while you may not need the cap savings today, like yesterday, it was almost imperative that you had something like that. I don't know what you had him at. I had him at like 11% in the tournament I was in.
Yeah, he was something like that. He was like right around 10%. And there's always, again, hope. And if that's the only thing about him leading off, I'm glad you brought that up. If he's leading off, he's going to be a lot higher owned. Don't you agree?
Yeah, leadoff guys always get more love. I think that is definitely something to watch out for. And trust us, it's no lock that he is leading off. He hasn't led off in a while. We've just Urias is an up and coming good player who was playing really well when he was sitting in the bottom of the lineup. So with Kane opting out of the season, the Brewers have tried to get creative. Figured let's put him up here. Well, he's looked awful in the leadoff position, probably putting too much stress on himself on the move up. So I think today is a good opportunity to either sit him or move him down in the lineup. And with no Kane, I don't know who else you put in leadoff, so he's a prime candidate.
Yeah, exactly. He fits that mold. So cool. We see this eye to eye. Yeah.
All right. Last guy up is Kyle Mother Tucker of the Houston Astros. From what you read to try to gauge ownership on stacks, Houston is not getting a ton of love today. And Jordan Lyles, to call him hot garbage this year is an absolute insult to hot garbage. Kyle Tucker, meanwhile, is really turning into the guy. Look at those 29 RBIs. That's really, really good. He's driving in runs. He's hitting for power. He's got a little bit of speed, plenty of pop. Mash City lately. Give it to me.
Yeah, man, this guy's got upside all over. Like you mentioned him, must have been like 10 days ago at this point. Proceeded to have or maybe even less than that. Proceeded to have a monster game and just continued to rake. He's been Houston's best, especially recently. He's been their best hitter over the past few weeks, no doubt about that. Again, he's a guy that they've had a lot of hope for, one of their top hitting prospects for years, finally like coming into his own. They need his bat, especially without Alvarez and Bregman. Never would have thought that about Houston coming into the season, but it's the truth. And Houston is in a great spot tonight. Like if this ownership holds, I love Houston here. They're right there as one of the top stacks on paper today. So if they're getting love, like get their sixth stack, give me all the Astros.
And that's another thing to look out for. So one of the guys that we talked about yesterday was Josh Bell. But as soon as they moved from Eric Lauer to Brent Suter, who I have a lot more respect for Suter, like I just wasn't as interested in him anymore. I expect Lyles to be the start today, but you never know when the Rangers are going to switch things up. And if Lyles wasn't the pitcher today, we wouldn't love Houston as much.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we talked about that with the Dodgers the other day. So Lyles is supposed to come in long relief here.
So I would watch for that. Just as like, again, I have no reason to know that they're going to change that. But with the Rangers being so far out of it, and the trade deadline was yesterday, you never know when things get weird. So I would just keep my eyes peeled for something like that.
So that's another thing, and more. This is something more we talk about on members only. But as far as the Astros go, like in totality, I wish Lyles were starting. Like I still love Houston here, but I like them slightly less because he's not starting, and there is like some unknown about whether he's going to come in. If and when he comes in, he probably is not going to throw 100 pitches like he's been given a really. So it changes things a little bit.
Yeah, so I just keep your eyes peeled. Some of these teams that are out of it, you never know, because like Jordan Lyles has been around for a long time. You never know when all of a sudden the Rangers is going to be like, dude, like this guy stinks. Like, let's take a look at this kid from Double A or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we were talking about Matt Harvey in a joking matter on the members only thing. What's that?
I would say Lyles is not that guy. Like your point, I laugh at it and I get it. But I don't think Lyles is like Matt Harvey level. Do you? At least not yet. Only because he's been better recently than Matt Harvey has.
Well, there's just what you have though.
Yes, no arguments.
And if you're not into it and you're out of it, I mean, if there's a kid at Double A, or at whatever you're talking about at any level, it doesn't really matter at this point. That you think, you know what? Let's just see what we got right here. Let's get him some major league experience because clearly this year means nothing.
You can make that case about like a lot of pretty much all the veteran starters on the teams that are out of it. I would compare Lyles more to like Derek Holland from when we had that combo on our members only video than Matt Harvey. But yes, good point, well taken.
Matt Harvey. We were very hard on Matt Harvey on the members only show today because like he's 31 years old. He hasn't been good in 5 years, 6 years, maybe 7.
He's been on a bunch of teams too.
Like, why are we still trying to experiment with this with a guy who, at this point of his career, even if he was pitching the best that he'd ever pitched, like it would still be the absolute peak. He's not getting better. Not a lot of baseball players get better when they're 33, 34. So, like, what are we looking for right here?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. He sucks.
Yes, he does. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.